Episode 10, The Human Cost. From the war beneath the war, power systems, and the cost we don't see. What if the real cost of this war isn't what you've been shown? We've spent a lot of time in this series talking about systems, power, choke points, alliances, strategy, positioning, and all of that matters. But now we need to talk about something else, people. Because underneath every system, every policy, every military decision, every geopolitical calculation, there are human beings living inside the consequences. And I think that gets lost very quickly. When I say human cost, I don't just mean deaths. I mean trauma, displacement, instability, grief, fear, psychological damage, generational wounds, and not just immediately, sometimes for decades. These are not numbers. One of the things that happens in war is that people become abstract very quickly. Casualty counts, statistics, headlines, numbers moving across a screen. And once human beings become numbers, something dangerous starts happening psychologically. Once people become numbers, it becomes easier to avoid accountability. These are not just deaths that are caused by one side. This is a chain reaction. We struck first. Iran responded. People died. More people responded. More people died. And eventually, the deaths became headlines. Then statistics. Then political talking points. That's how accountability starts disappearing. But these are actual human beings. Flesh and blood, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's father. People who woke up that morning not expecting to become part of a geopolitical calculation. And when we stop seeing people clearly, it becomes easier to justify almost anything. The wounds don't disappear when the headlines disappear. Children grow up without parents. Parents bury their children. Families carry trauma for decades. Communities fracture, countries destabilize, and eventually, those wounds start shaping the future. Wars don't just change lives, they shape generations. In the patterns they don't want you to see, our original series this year, we talked about systems losing accountability. In Faith, Tech, and the Shadow Grab for Power, we talked about how power structures reshape human lives. And now we're looking at what happens when those systems become militarized globally. None of these systems stay abstract for long because eventually they land on human beings. What concerns me most is how easily people psychologically adapt to permanent instability. Because once war becomes normalized, people stop emotionally reacting to things they should never become numb to. Bombings, civilian deaths, fear, surveillance, pressure. And once numbness sets in, systems stop feeling accountable to people. The strategy stays visible. The people disappear. And if you've ever caught yourself reading about casualties the same way you'd read market numbers, pay attention to that feeling, because I think that's part of what war does. It distances us emotionally from what's actually happening. And if we lose that emotional connection completely, we lose something much bigger than politics. We lose our ability to feel the human reality underneath the system. I'm not saying there are easy answers to any of this. There aren't. But I do think there's danger in becoming so focused on dominance, systems, positioning, leverage, that we stop seeing the people underneath them. Because no matter how complicated geopolitics becomes, the people carrying the suffering are usually the people with the least power over the decisions creating it. The people carrying the greatest burden rarely hold the greatest voice. And if this lands emotionally for you, don't push it away. I don't think we're supposed to become numb to this. I don't think we're supposed to normalize permanent pressure and endless war. Once you really let yourself see the human cost, it becomes impossible to talk about war only as strategy. So now the question becomes, what happens when entire systems start straining under this kind of pressure? Because some systems hold and some don't. And when systems begin breaking under pressure, the world that comes after them starts changing too.